I used to bicycle quite a bit, both on the road and off. One time I was mountain biking with a friend who was a professional cyclist, and she said something that stuck with me. She said that when she's on her mountain bike, she wonders why she ever rides on the road. And you know what? I totally got what she meant. There we were on a beautiful trail, not a car or even another person in sight. We were testing our skills and pushing limits with far less consequences in case of a crash. No chance of falling off at high speed and scraping off large swaths of skin on pavement, no chance of getting hit by a car. Thrills could be had by completing a technical section of a trail at slow speed rather than risking a high-speed maneuver. And most of all, the natural surroundings were good for diffusing the stresses of life. And that's how I feel about motorcycling now. As fun as riding on the road is, and it is fun, getting off the beaten path onto some trail can do wonders for making you forget your worries. Riding trails is a lower risk way of finding thrills and building skills than bombing highly illegal speeds on public roads. So why not try it out by picking up an inexpensive trail bike and heading for the forest? Something that doesn't have 1,000 kilometer oil change intervals or a giant pile of horsepower to launch you into a tree if you're inexperienced off-road. Something practical that can be used daily as a commuter and taken out to the trails on the weekend. Thankfully, there are a bunch of these practical, inexpensive, and hard-to-break dual sports out there. And today we'll take a look at the most entry-level of these bikes and list their relative advantages and disadvantages, and we'll cover mid-range and high-end dual sports in future vids. So if you're on a tight budget or looking to get into off-roading without dealing with stratospheric seat heights and prices, stay tuned. And if you like what you see, consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Practical dual sports are not all built equally. These low-maintenance, dirt-capable motorcycles can be broken down into entry-level, mid-spec, and high-end bikes. And in this video we'll start with the entry-level, which in my home market is made up of 4 motorcycles. All Japanese, all very light, reasonably priced, capable, and not too tall. These are great for city commuting, exploring back roads and trails, and learning off-road skills. All of these are air-cooled and simple with friendly power delivery and decent off-road chops. Let's start with the least intimidating of the bunch, a motorcycle which proves that you don't have to have the inseam of a giraffe to ride off-road. The Yamaha TW200 is the tank of the dual sport world. It's not fast, but it's pretty much unstoppable. Because of its small wheels, 18 and 14 inches, and its shorter non-adjustable suspension, about 6 inches of travel, this thing offers the lowest seat height of any dual sport in my market, 31.1 inches. The balloon fat tires absorb a lot of bumps, allowing the bike to get away with less suspension travel. Is it objectively a good motorcycle? Not really. It was introduced in 1987 and hasn't changed much since. It's air-cooled, carbureted, has a 5-speed transmission, is barely capable of highway speeds, downhill and with a tailwind maybe, has soft suspension, has a drum rear brake for crying out loud, and is not going to float you down the trail but rather bounce you along. Don't expect to keep up with other dual sports on this thing. But this bike is nonetheless loved by its owners for its ability to truck along through anything. If you get stuck, you can just paddle along as it rolls over the terrain like a monster truck. It only weighs 280 pounds, feels lighter than that because of its low center of gravity, and the short reach to the ground makes it perfect for shorter riders. The T-Dub instills beginners with all kinds of confidence. It's dirt cheap at $4,800 US or $5,500 Canadian, and those giant tires have a surprising amount of grip on pavement. This is definitely a great bike for the budget-conscious rider who may be shorter of inseam and isn't in too much of a hurry. I'll also mention the Suzuki Van here. It's similar to the T-Dub in its smaller wheel size and stature. However, this bike has been discontinued and is not easily found on the used market. It's got the same great qualities of the Yamaha while adding the convenience of fuel injection. If you can find one, it might be worth a look. Another air-cooled 5-speed Yamaha with a relatively low 31.9-inch seat height is the XT250. This bike has proper 21 and 18-inch wheels, which gives you access to a wide range of tire choices. It's got a bit more power from its 250cc engine, has discs on both wheels, and is a bit more expensive than the TW200, running $5,200 US and $5,700 Canadian, making it a better deal in Canada. The fuel injection alone is worth the extra cash. The motor has plenty of torque for chugging up trails. This bike can do highway speeds and looks pretty cool with the round headlight. Although this is not a high-performance dual sport, I've heard great things about its ability off-road. There's 9 inches of suspension travel in the front, 7 in the rear, and apparently its designers were inspired by Trials bikes, which makes the XT250 very easy to toss around. The second lowest seat height of all these motorcycles makes it well suited for shorter riders, and this one can actually zip down the trail with some urgency. Another entry-level dual sport in this class is the Suzuki DR200, which has been discontinued in Canada for 2021, but I'm still including it on this list because there are so many cheap used motorcycles available on the market that this is a great option for someone who wants to get riding some trails for the least amount of money possible. Good bike? No, far from it. Air-cooled, carbureted, underpowered, drum rear brake, spongy suspension, and, unlike the previous 2 bikes, the seat sits 33.3 inches above the ground, which makes this bike less accessible to shorter riders. However, like all of these bikes, the DR200 does have some redeeming qualities. It has good-sized wheels for off-road, 21 and 18, there's plenty of suspension travel, 8 inches, and ground clearance, 10 inches. It's light, 280 pounds full of gas, and speaking of gas, the tank is huge for a dual sport. Most carry around 8 liters where this baby swallows 12.5. That gives it a massive boost in range and also means that this bike is the lightest in its class, given that it's tied for the lightest weight, but more of that weight consists of fuel. So off-road capable adventure bike on a budget? Perfect. If you want to dip your toes into the dual sport world without spending much money, here you go. Buy it for chicken scratch, learn to ride off-road, the soft power delivery is perfect for that. Beat it up, sell it for the same price you bought it for, and either upgrade or not, depending on whether you caught the off-road bug. Simple, cheap, and light, and if you still find a new 2020 in a dealership somewhere, you'll pay $400 less Canadian than for the T-Dub. That'll pay for wraparound handguards and a bash plate, maybe even a rack. There is one more entry-level motorcycle in this class and is by far the best of these bikes. The Kawasaki KLX 230 has just been upgraded recently and is the only one of these motorcycles that could be described as modern. Fuel injected, plenty peppy with a 233cc motor and holy cow, a 6-speed transmission. It can actually do some limited highway stints. The comically large headlight is plenty bright and gives you some wind protection. The suspension front and back is just short of 9 inches and ground clearance is 10.4. And if you spend a considerable amount of time on pavement, this thing even comes with optional ABS for $300 extra US. Is this the perfect entry-level dual sport? Well, the seat measures 34.8 inches from the ground, so it's a rather tall bike. All of that suspension travel and ground clearance will do that. However, the suspension on this bike is squishy enough to drop the seat height considerably with your weight on the saddle. So the seat should feel quite a bit lower than, say, my Tenere 700, which is wider and has stiffer springs. Aside from that, this bike is probably the most all-around capable machine in this video out of the box, and would be my choice to learn on, boot around the trails, and even up the pace a bit. Not too much though with that soft suspension. This bike will take you the longest to outgrow and may very well be the only dual sport or even motorcycle that you will need. It costs $4,600 US, $5,300 Canadian, and would be my choice of all the bikes in this video. So all of these motorcycles will make great commuters, farm bikes, explorers, and learning platforms. The KLX 230 is the most modern and most capable, but the others can be found on the used market for lower prices. The two Yamahas sport those nice low seats, and the Suzuki is just an inexpensive, reliable motorcycle with enormous aftermarket support and the best range. It's not great out of the box, but can be built up to be much better. I know I'll get some comments about Honda Monkeys and Trail 125s, but let's keep it real. Those motorcycles are nowhere near as off-road capable as the bikes I've included in this video, so I left them off this list. They're in a separate category performance-wise while costing not much less than these much bigger and more capable bikes. As for the bigger bikes in the 300 to 400cc range, which sit just above these, that will have to be a separate video. Stay tuned. So if you're new to motorcycling or new to off-roading, or just interested in a light bike you can throw around the trail for some fun, these are great bikes to start on. Some of the pavement riders out there might be a little dirt curious, and believe me, riding dirt is worth a go. One of my goals with this channel is to get more folks on motorcycles and also more folks off pavement. So let me know if you're interested in these bikes. And if you own one, share your thoughts on it in the comment section below. Enjoy your full riding and happy trails.
If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching, your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding. We're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.